everybody, we have a 420 special. Dr. Dina, who is nearby here in West Hollywood and has, from what I read, a very interesting story, and I think everybody's going to love. The main reason I wanted to invite you on to the Reality Pill is I really want to hear the history of your life, kind of how you got into what you're doing now, what drove you, and really like what challenges you had when you were trying to treat people and help people overall, either with medical stuff or not, meaning just giving them therapeutic or for fun or for anything, before legalization happened, and then now really like how much more accessible it's come. So we'll kind of go through all that. So what is your background? How did you get into this game?
Well, first of all, of course, I'm not a real doctor. I am board certified by Snoop Dogg. I actually got into the cannabis industry many, many years ago because I had a friend that was diagnosed with cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really quite sad. He had really just kind of given up. He didn't have health insurance, and he was so sick from the chemo that he was taking that he was throwing it up nonstop, and he knew that if he was throwing up the medicine, it wasn't going to help him.
Sure.
So he asked me if I knew someone that had a pistol. He wanted to borrow a gun to end his life, and he wanted to leave the little bit of money that he had left in his bank account to his wife, and instead of leaving her broke. And instead, I brought him a joint, which, of course, to me was the more reasonable route to go. I brought him a
Yeah.
joint, and I got him high, and immediately he stopped dry heaving. And that night he ate dinner and he held his food down, and his whole outlook changed, and he was able to beat cancer. And when I saw that happening, it was really just kind of shocking that here's this guy that's really sick and he was scared to go to jail. His wife was scared that she would be deported because she's from Sweden. And so I decided to help him
Mm.
get legal. There was only like two doctors in California at the time that would write a recommendation for cannabis. And it was
Yeah.
kind of like this, like, ooh, let's not talk about it. And so I drove my friend who was really sick up to San Francisco, and I was able to help him procure a cannabis recommendation from a doctor, which made it legal for
Mm-hmm.
him to use. And just that whole trip was so traumatizing for me, of, driving 11 hours with someone with, on chemo, throwing up the whole time. Why didn't we have this closer? So I
Right.
started researching, and I found a doctor that was willing to work in LA, and help us meaning the people that live out here. And we started writing recommendations to a lot of people. We opened the first cannabis recommendation clinic. And from there, people would ask me, okay, Dina, now that I got my paper, where do I get my weed? I'm like, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
And so I wasn't going to send them to a park or like stand on the corner and look for someone shady and be like, hey, can I get a sack? So I went to the
Right.
city of West Hollywood. And so I went to West Hollywood, and they decided that to open up this realm. And so we were operating, and we opened a dispensary, and
Okay.
it's sort of from there snowballed into this crazy world that when I first jumped in, I never would have thought legalization was really going to happen. It was something I just talked about all the time, and kind of just took up all this time in my life talking about it. Now it's here, and it's a little scary for me.
Yeah.
The regulations, the taxes, it's a lot. It's a lot, but
it's a it's a new world.
it's a new
And
world
and
for
were
all of
you? I mean,
us.
most doctors. Yeah. So most doctors from my training days and probably the 20 years before me even kind of thought this was all a joke. It really didn't make any medical sense, given
Correct.
we have mind-altering drugs, which is what marijuana is, but it's the mildest of all of them. Alcohol being substantially more harmful, and as far as like inhalants go, cigarettes being much more harmful. So,
Well, I have a
um,
question for you. You went to medical
mhm,
school. How much
yeah,
time did you
once.
spend how much time did you spend studying the endocannabinoid system?
Uh, it was brief. It was kind of we learned it all with the pharmacokinetics and doing kind of or pharmacodynamics. I mean, with figuring out where the opiate receptors are, the cannabinoids, and all that. Uh, so it was brief, but everybody was on the same page that it definitely had therapeutic potential. And this was back in like 2004, so it wasn't really like widespread yet. But for us, it was all a joke. Like
Right.
we couldn't figure out like where did this war on drugs come from? It makes no sense at all. And then you look back and finally they had documentaries that came out in like 2010, 2012, and they talked about how the whole Ronald Reagan era started all this stuff, and Nixon with Nicaragua, and you finally figure it out. But
It's just so
um,
political. It's so political, and it's
yeah,
it's really a shame because so many people would have benefited from it. In fact, 420 being the stoner holiday that it is, and happy 420 everyone who's out there listening and smoking up today, because it is a very special day for all of us who support cannabis, and especially now that it's legalized in California and Colorado and Washington and so many different states. We are now taking over the US, and it's pretty damn exciting. So I just want
yeah,
to say kudos to everybody working really hard. When I first started, it was for medical purposes. We couldn't
mhm,
say let's get high for fun, you
of
know?
course, yeah,
It's like, so it was, for me, it was about curing people with ailments. And that's what my specialty sort of has become over the years. That's what I think I sent you a link to, possibly a link to a documentary that I worked on called Waldo on Weed, which is about a little boy who had cancer in his eyes, and his parents used cannabis to treat him and have this
hmm,
amazing footage from it. And it's just another story. It's like we would find what would work, and because at some point we learned what didn't work.
yeah,
And not every cannabis, every type of flower, not everything is going to save you. And there's certain cancers in certain states. If you come to us too late, we can help you to get comfortable, but we
hmm,
might not be able to, reverse the brain cancer that's taken
yeah,
over. And so people have to have realistic expectations of this plant,
yeah, of
but
course.
I do believe that if you can come to us right away, as soon, and we can put you on a regimen of something that can help you, it will prolong your life.
Yeah, and do you have so personally, like for me, I'm very happy about this stuff happening because I love the potential for helping people. And I personally can't even smoke weed because I get anxiety. I have to be like drunk, or else if I have it, I start to get like panicky. Especially if I have an edible. For me, it's like the worst thing ever.
Do you know what that means though?
Uh,
It really means that your endocannabinoid system, you're producing enough cannabinoids. So
yeah,
you don't need it. It just puts you kind of into an overload state where people like me, I don't produce enough. I can tell, I just know this because when I use
yeah,
cannabis, I mean, I've
yeah.
been smoking copious amounts of cannabis all day, and
Hmm.
I'm not like, oh man, like I feel good. I feel
No,
normal, feel healthy.
fully
Like
functional,
I'm functioning, I'm good.
fully
We're having a
functional,
great conversation. So it works for some
fully
people where
functional.
you might be like, oh my God, freaking out. This is too much for me.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have, well, for my own, I have questions about like how you go about the treatments, but like my question for myself is I like the smell of marijuana. Is there like incense that is
I
actually
love it.
smells like that?
I love
I think it has a
incense
therapeutic smell,
that smells like
even if
weed.
it's not,
I,
even if you're
you know
not
what I
using it, you
do?
smell it, it
I
smells
just
really nice.
I just roll a joint, and sometimes I just light it and I use it like sage all over my house. I just did that earlier, and
So you
my
can
husband
sage
thinks
with
I'm
it.
crazy. Yeah, my husband says the whole house smells like weed now, so I don't
No,
know.
I think it's a really nice smell, especially like certain types. I don't know the different types, but like certain types just really smell nice, even when you
You know,
don't light them.
it's funny you said that because a couple years ago I really wanted to create like a fragrance line of cannabis.
Hmm.
I'm like, that would be the coolest thing. And then I thought of all these people who would just randomly get pulled over by the police and happen to be wearing my cannabis Kush perfume and would get like, searched because they smelled like weed, even though they didn't have any on them. And I'm like,
Hmm.
maybe that's not the best business plan.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So let me ask you. So when people come to you, do they come to you to treat them personally, like they've heard of you and they say, you know what, I'm having this pain. I need you to help me go through this and try different things, or do they just say, okay, you have a dispensary here on on Santa Monica, Fairfax, like, or sorry, on Huntley, and do I come there to just kind of go shopping? How do they find you usually?
Well, first of all, our store in Santa Monica and Fairfax has been they've been open over there for 18 years, so everyone knows us. We're the longest operating dispensary in the United States, which
Hmm.
is pretty cool. There have been people that have been open before us, but nobody as long as us. So we're
Yeah.
still doing it. Um, we've kind of become the go-to place. I don't know if you're familiar with the TV show Weeds.
Yeah, of course. I've watched
So,
every episode, every season.
well, that show is based on me, which is a little crazy. That's when I had a
Tell me
store
about
up
that.
on Sunset.
The
You know,
Nancy Botwin.
I didn't give them permission to do so. They did it on their own, which kind of sucks, but hey, we're talking about it, so there you go. Um, it's a little bit touchy. It's interesting. It's like those characters are real people in the show. And Conrad, who is kind of her right hand man,
Hmm.
that's Bird. He recently passed away last year. So like when I think about Weeds, it's like, oh, my right hand man. And her brother-in-law, who's my god brother Andy,
Hmm.
he's in prison for trying to burn down a competitor's dispensary. So bad like, people are crazy like in this business,
Wow.
but it's very much similar to the show. So
Well, it's a great show. If anybody hasn't seen it, I think most people have seen it by now. It's like it's an incredible show. So
and I
so
also worked on the show called Disjointed, which is where I have my cannabis consultant jacket from, which is on Netflix, which is a really goofy kind of spoof on sitcoms, if everybody was high, which I can probably say most of the people who were involved in the show were high in the making of the show.
nice. So in the beginning, when you were trying to have your supply before legalization happened, did you have to be very resourceful to get this stuff, or was it?
You
I mean,
know,
it's
it's so
California. I figure
funny.
it's not too hard.
When I opened a shop, my first thought was like, where am I going to get weed from? I mean, I knew my people, and so I got a little bit of weed from my people, but even they weren't able to like bring me what I really needed.
Hmm.
But then I remembered the movie Field of Dreams, and if you build it, they will come. And let me tell you,
Were you
they
watching
come.
the Field of Dreams while smoking weed? 'Cause,
No, but it just like that just came to me one night. I'm like, they will come, and let me tell you, they came. And nowadays, it is a real industry. There are sales reps. People have
yeah.
sales territory. It is gnarly. It is gnarly.
Oh, there's actual reps now.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Wow.
you should see what goes on. I mean, dispensary workers, God bless them. They are essential workers, and I want to thank them all right now because a lot of the times when people are saying thank you for the grocery store workers and thank you to the people who pump the gas and deliver the food, I'm like, let's not forget the people working in the dispensaries who would like to be home with their families, but they're there
Yeah.
to make sure you have your cannabis. So that shit's dope. So thank you very much to all those people who work in the shops. That is just, oh God,
Yeah, it's a
this
huge
time
business now,
is crazy.
and what we saw was, when people even began the talks of this, is that big pharma and the cigarette, companies, they would like rapidly try to move in and expand on this as much as possible, and it is a huge business now. But it's nice when you have these kind of shops that have established themselves in the community and they're trusted, and you can actually help people with their lives with this, not just for fun. I know fun is a big part of it, but it's not just for fun. It's nice to do those things. So
No,
do you
no,
actually work?
this is a stressful job actually. Like I should have like PTSD, like insurance or some sort of therapy because think about it. Like I see people who every single day come to our shop. Sure, there's people that want to get high and like, hey, I'm in the neighborhood, like, what's
Yeah.
up? And then there's the people that just got diagnosed with something really bad. And they are coming to us because they are scared. They've heard that this is their way out, like this is going to
Hmm.
save them, or this is their last route, their last chance. And so we're there to give them hope. And there's some times where people come in and I'm like, it's not looking good. It's really
Yeah.
scary. Um, but with that said,
And do you have
I try to
relationships
give them some hope.
with any therapists or doctors that coincidentally you say, you know what, I've been dealing with this person, and I don't think it's like just for me. I need somebody else involved in this. Do you have anybody that you reach out to?
actually really funny that you said that because doctors don't want to put their hands on weed. So, like, they have no knowledge when it comes to this. They come to me. And so, over the years, I've had
Yeah.
so many patients use cannabis and have a great result. And they go back to the doctor and say, hey, look at my test results. I'm clean. My test clean. I'm cured from cancer, or I no longer have a stomach ailment, or I'm no longer taking pills for my anxiety, or I'm off of heroin, whatever it is that they're using cannabis for, and they're telling their doctor, I use cannabis and this is my good result. Those doctors say, who did you work with? And they say,
Hmm.
Dr. Dina. These doctors then call me when they have a question. And so there's a few doctors I'll run, questions by. If people have certain health issues, I don't want to make them worse by using cannabis, and
Yeah.
certain heart ailments, you want to kind of be careful of. But you know, hey,
And then, I mean, you have alternatives too. Now it's a whole world of cannabidiols and
the
CBD.
CBDs.
Yeah.
Although I'm a true believer, and I
Hmm.
probably people might hate me for this, I really believe that CBD by itself
Hmm.
isn't going to do anything for you. You
No,
need
I've
a
had a lot of people
little
who
bit.
love that CBD. You need the THC?
Well, you need a little bit of THC, and they might have enough because usually hemp CBD is
Hmm.
zero point 0.3. You have to be under 0.3%
Yeah.
THC to be qualified as a hemp product. I think you need a little more. And so when you have just a little bit more, you do a little bit better.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it doesn't work at all. I'm just saying the results that we get
Right.
when it's more of a 1-to-1 ratio
Right.
is so much
So,
better.
so this is actually a discussion, if you're asking what we learned in med school or what we talked about in med school, a lot of it was figuring out, you have a substance like marijuana, which is a cannabis plant, marijuana plant, and it's a natural plant. And you take it and you take everything that's in it. There's a flora, there's kind of a blend of something. Um, is it as effective to go find the active ingredient and get the active ingredient by itself, THC, and see if that does anything, or CBD, see if that does anything? Or is the magic in this stuff really
The
the combination of
terpenes.
things?
The terpenes,
Well,
are really changing. It used to be you'd walk into a store and you would say, I want a specific strain. I want OG Kush. I want
mhm.
Jack Herer. I want Blue Dream, whatever flavor, Granddaddy Purple. But no longer is that the case. People are going in and saying, I like high levels of this terpene or that terpene, or I like
Oh
THC
wow,
under a
it's like
certain
wine tasting
percentage.
now.
It's
So
really
it's like wine tasting.
because you want a certain result, and that's how to get the
Yeah.
right result is really by mixing the correct terpenes together. Does THC have any negative effect on your body in the long run? Um, I don't know anyone that has ever had a negative effect or died from
There's
any THC, so
right.
I
Yeah.
would say no.
There's none that we know of. There's no. People can have panic attacks and weird things happen to them, but overall, like, overdoses generally don't happen with marijuana, which is part of what all these documentaries were about. Is that why is everybody so scared of marijuana when it's such a benign medication and it's helped so many people? And now, uh,
Well,
even
the stigma is really scary, and unfortunately, it still scares a lot of patients. Like, I can't tell you how many like grandmas are out there that could probably
right.
benefit greatly from a couple cannabis gummies or a little chocolate, but they're scared because their church group is going to judge them, their grandkids or their kids or their
Yeah.
neighbors or their whatever, or God will judge them. I mean, unfortunately, we're still dealing with that.
When the reality is it's much more benign than alcohol, and alcohol, I think, is widely accepted in the world, even
Well,
though
it's your job as a doctor to help ease those people's concerns, and when they hear a doctor mention cannabis, it's all of a sudden okay.
yeah, yeah. And I used to treat head and neck cancer, and that was my training in residency, and we used to prescribe cannabinoids. We would send them to, at that point I was in New York, so it was much more strict than California. We would send them to a pain management doctor, and a pain management doctor would then direct them to how to use, and you could prescribe them in the hospital too. You could actually just prescribe cannabinoids,
Interesting.
and they would give them either weed to smoke, or they would give them edibles. We also had whiskey for alcoholics. We had, we had everything at our disposal you could use it. But
That's
the
wild.
marijuana was great because you could actually just send them to a pain management specialist, and the pain management specialists were all very aware of this and very into it. Whereas we didn't know, how do you prescribe cannabinoids? How do you prescribe THC? How do you do any of this? We weren't so familiar with like how to actually get it to them. So we just sent them to the specialist. Now in California, it's a lot easier. It's a lot more logical world. So like what's happened how have you had to change your business now since
Oh
legalization has
God.
happened?
I mean, everything. You have to be compliant with the law, and everything down to the type of packaging that the product comes in, making sure that just before we were underground, we didn't have payroll. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
do it. I mean, we were just an underground kind of culture that was forgotten about in society. Now all of a sudden we're accepted, we're
Mm-hmm.
taxed, we're regulated, but we're not gifted the same respect that other regular businesses are given in the United States because we're not federally legal. So
Mm-hmm.
like all the assistance that's, the government's going to be giving out, we're not eligible for it, which is really sad because you have the essential workers that I was talking about before who are working are not eligible for government assistance if they do get sick.
Oh, right. I didn't know that.
Hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'm sure that has to change soon, especially
Yeah.
with California kind of leading the way.
Yeah.
I feel like, California, Colorado, they're more
I
the
usually
logical
spend
states.
420, by the way, with Snoop Dogg. So this is a different 420.
Oh, well, you're stuck with me now.
I guess so, huh?
You've got me.
And my friend here.
Yeah, and the tiger. They call me like the little Persian Snoop Dogg. So it's
Oh, you're the
it's
Persian
similar.
Snoop Dogg. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
What up?
So a lot of people want to know about like negative effects compared to smoking nicotine.
Does it have
Marijuana
the
has
same
shown.
negative effects as smoking nicotine?
No, I mean,
Actually, from the studies I've read, I've heard that it's reverse damage in your lungs
I
using
don't know if it can
cannabis
reverse, but it's
from
definitely
from
never.
cigarettes.
Yeah, it's never shown to have any major damage because the frequency with which people smoke it is so much less, and cigarettes seem to be a lot more toxic. Past that, cigarettes are a lot more annoying. I would rather be around somebody smoking marijuana and it smells nice, rather than smoking
Have
cigarettes
you
which
have you
smell
been around
disgusting.
someone who took a dab before?
What's that?
Do
Teach me.
I
What's a
do I
dab?
get to teach you? Hold on.
Yeah,
I'll be right back. I'm so excited.
I
Don't
gotta
go
see.
anywhere, you guys. Dab's coming soon.
What's a dab? Yeah,
A
let's see what a
dab.
dab
Oh
is.
my God.
And then sleep-inducing, safe for teens. So this is actually one that we'll talk about later as well. We have Dr. Yafai, we're going to ask later too about children treatment because they do treat Dravet syndrome and Lennox-Gastaut and these seizure syndromes.
Yes. Okay,
All
so
right.
I have
What's that?
here, this is some peach soda. This is some hash oil. Looks kind of funny
Oh,
because the
nice.
jar is
Okay,
black.
so hash is the kind of the end product or the debris or what is that?
So we take the actual flour that's grown, instead of drying it out
Mm-hmm.
and trimming it and selling it to smoke just as flour, they process it. They all have different processes. This is a live resin, so they basically get the plant like cold and wet, and they take all the crystals, the THC, all the medicine off the plant.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not smoking any leaf matter. I'm basically going to
Mm-hmm.
vaporize hash oil. This
Oh,
is
okay.
a really cool device called a Puffco Peak, which is a battery powered little, it's like a bong for hash oil.
So what does hash oil do if it's got the THC out of it? And
Oh, it's all it's very
oh,
concentrated
it's all
THC, my
THC.
love.
Oh, okay.
Oh, very, very concentrated THC.
All right, I would just pass out. I had
Like
a panic.
90%
Yeah. So
THC.
the last time I actually had like marijuana was maybe I think like 5 years ago. Well, I had like a little touch here and
So
there,
you
but like
just
I
need
had like
a
five
little
years ago. My
dab. See, you
what
just
is
need
that?
a little dab, is what they say. Just a little dab will do you.
So you, so
So I put
can you just vaporize it into the atmosphere, or how does this work?
So I put it into this little machine, and then I turn it on, heats it up, and then it'll let me know when it's ready.
Hmm.
It's like magic.
And then see, so for me, I have like virgin lungs. If I get near even like a cigarette smoker, I just
You
start
you
coughing.
would I would turn this on the lowest level for you, a green hit, and I would give you like a very soft baby dab, and you would probably get high as hell, but you would love it.
Oh yeah, I'd probably freak out. Have you tried this? And oh, he loves it. Okay,
Too much.
it's strong.
Yeah.
It looks like you got to be a pro for this one.
Yeah,
So these are called dabs. Dabs or daps? Like dap?
like a
Dap.
dab, like dab.
One day I'll try this when I have like nothing to do for a day because I'm telling you
Right?
I get so panicky from this stuff. I'm good with like tequila. I can control myself. So we've got a question for this about can your body become used to the THC? Ignore the oil part, but what about overall? Have you seen people become tolerant to this where they
Oh yeah.
need to take more and more if they have pain and things like
Oh
that?
yes.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, so you definitely can get
However,
tolerant to it.
yes, but you just need to take like a couple, like a tolerance break. Like take a couple days off
Hmm.
and you're good. If I were to take a whole
So
week off of
it's
smoking and
mhm.
I smoked again, I would be higher than a kite as if like the first time I ever smoked.
Okay. So it resets. And if do you have
Let me
people
tell you,
who
it's hard work. It's hard work keeping those levels up, let me tell you.
yeah, I mean, do you have people who are like post kind of cancer patients who come and they're taking the medicines and it's just not working after a while? Do you have them stop for a little while and try again or try them on a different thing? What do you do at that point?
They don't really have that issue because once you start getting up to the level of what I'm going to be giving you as a cancer patient,
Hmm.
it, I'm not trying to get you high. I'm trying just to keep your levels up with your CBD.
Hmm.
And so it's glorious to me if I can treat you and you really don't even feel it the whole time. Sure,
Yeah.
you could smoke for fun and you could try to like take a dab and for relaxing, but what I'm gonna give you, you shouldn't be blasted off your mind. Like that's
Yeah.
I want you to be able to still like enjoy life and do, function because you're gonna be taking a lot of milligrams.
Yeah. So later on tonight, I'm going to talk to Dr. Yafai. She's she's an MD here in LA who treats a lot with marijuana as well, and I really want to hear her experience with this too because I've heard a lot of people who have experience with treating pain and treating anxiety and those things. They do believe in like the whole plant rather than just
Yes. Oh, a
one
whole plant
strain
is a
of
hundred
yeah
a
this
hundred
or that.
percent full spectrum. That's why when Waldo, the little boy, his parents came to me when he was 6 months old, he was gonna lose both his eyes. The doctor wanted to take his eyes. And I was like, don't let them take his eyes. We got to get him on this oil. I mixed three different types of oil together to make one oil because I wanted him to
Yeah.
get not just a full spectrum of that one plant, but of several plants. I also do believe that it's really important to get the oil to as, and you want to treat with oil when it comes to cancer and things like that because it's more concentrated. You want to get
Hmm.
the oil as close to the problem as possible. So if you have lung cancer, I'm going to have you take a capsule and vaporize that oil into your lungs. If you have stomach cancer, you're going to use a suppository.
Oh
It's
well.
we have to get it as close to where the issue is as possible. And
Yeah,
suppositories work
I'm not
really
into
well.
suppositories.
You might not be, and I have not used them myself, but I know people that have beat liver cancer without chemo using suppositories,
Oh, so
and
now
that's
in
pretty
these
rare.
Corona days, you're gonna have to design a mask now that you can like actually like attach the.
I was so already thinking that. I'm like, I need a little tube that I can just kind of hook up into my Puffco. Can someone please invent that for me and send me one?
That's up to you. You're gonna be the inventor. Um, so last question before we gotta go. Have you heard of owners giving their pets cannabis? I haven't heard of this.
Yes, there's many companies. I would not recommend you just giving your pets cannabis because
Pretty fucking
it's
stoned.
it's too strong. But there are companies that make it for your dog. Vet CBD is one of them, and it works amazing wonders. Like, it's incredible for your pets. It's
Oh,
really
that's
like
awesome.
one drop for every 10 pounds of dog. It's like y-
So
my
it's dogs
dog,
that are going through treatments or
arthritis,
Mhm.
pain, cancer, everything. Not dogs and cats.
Okay. And what brand of full spectrum CBD oil do you recommend? Do you have any?
There are so many out there right now. I recommend anything that's sold in a licensed dispensary.
Nice. All right. So what's the name of your dispensary? You guys are on Santa Monica and Fairfax. What's it called?
Yeah, we're Oz West Hollywood, Oz WeHo, and we also
Oz.
have a shop called the OG Collective in Cathedral City. And we also have a shop called Oregon High in Portland, Oregon. So you guys can go visit and check it out.
Oh wow, you're all over the coast.
Yeah, we're all over the place.
Nice. All right. So for everybody watching, if you want to listen to this again, we're going to have it up on YouTube soon and the Reality Pill podcast. And if you want to visit Dr. Dina, you can visit her here or you can go stop by Santa Monica and Fairfax at Oz.